Wow. Okay. Anyway, as long as we're still connected.
At least we can hear.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that yes.
Yeah.
What was I saying? I keep getting interrupted. My train of thought. Oh yeah, the self-realization. So self-realization, understanding that we're not the body, that we're a spirit soul. The spirit soul is part and parcel of the Supreme. And because we're part and parcel of the Supreme, therefore we should do?
We should serve the...
Yeah, naturally. Why is that naturally? Why is it natural for the part to serve the whole?
That's what the part does.
You look at anything that has parts and a whole, and always the parts are cooperating with the whole. Isn't it? The part of the body, say the hand. What's the purpose of the hand? The function of the hand is to cooperate with the whole body, right? It's supposed to put food in the mouth, or, cooperate. We're trying to learn something, so we're taking notes and studying. The hand has to work together for the purpose of the whole body. So that's natural for the part to cooperate with the whole and to serve the whole. If the part tries to be independent, like if this hand tried to be independent from the body, how valuable would that hand be?
Nothing.
Zero. It would have, like if I cut the hand off the body, I'm not going to do that, but if we cut the hand off the body, then if we separate it from the whole, it would have no value whatsoever. You just throw it in the bin and have no value. But connected, when the part is connected with the whole and working together for the satisfaction of the whole, then it's very valuable. Would you let someone take your hand away for $1,000?
No.
For $10,000?
No.
$100,000?
No.
$1 million?
No.
So that's very valuable, isn't it? When your hands connect with the body, it's so valuable. But say the hand was cut off, then how much would you pay for it? Nothing. There's no value, right? If it's cut off as a dead hand, it's useless. So separated is completely useless, but when it's connected, it's very valuable. So that's our real value as a soul, is connected with the Supreme. And that's yoga. Yoga means to connect. We should always be connected. Now, how are we going to be connected? As you know, there's many ways: karma yoga, jnana yoga, stanga yoga, bhakti yoga. So we're connecting, but the main thing is to connect. We should always be connected. Otherwise, we have no value. It's called anartha. Anartha means no value. Artha means value, like money, right? It has some value. So that's artha. But if it has no value, it's called anartha. So if we lose our connection with the Supreme, lose our Krishna consciousness, then that's an anartha. Our whole life has just become useless. But it can immediately become very valuable. We just got to add Krishna back again. We just got to put Krishna in front. Like, imagine your life is like a whole lot of zeros. You got a house as a zero, and a car as a zero, and your body is a zero, and all your material possessions, your phone, everything are zeros. You got a whole lot of zeros. You got 100 zeros. How much does 100 zeros equal? Zero. But you put a 1 in front of 100 zeros. How much does that equal? You can't even work it out. It's very valuable. So that's like putting the Supreme Being, putting Krishna in the center or in the front of all those zeros in your life. Because you look at all the things, they're all temporary things. They're all material things, temporary things. On their own, they have no real value. They just matter. And often we know material things lead to suffering, lead to misery. But if you use all those things in the service of the Supreme and sacrifice for the pleasure of the Supreme, then it takes on real value. How is that? How is that? How is that your car? How is it your car and your house and your money and everything suddenly became very valuable when you used it in the service of the Supreme? I mean, without being used in the service of the Supreme, when we use it for our own sense gratification, then it's our ticket to
more of the same.
down, down, down. It's our ticket downwards to animalistic life, hellish life. When we use things for sense gratification, fruitive activities, it's just karma, bad karma. So it's our ticket to entanglement, bondage. But when we use those same things, when we use it connected to in service of the Supreme, then how does it suddenly become valuable? It was before all these material things were like a heavy weight around our neck. Like if you're in the ocean and you got, 50 kg weight strapped to your waist or your leg, that's not very good, is it? So that's how all these material things were just pulling us down, entangling us in the material world. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, just entangling us. But material things, when we use it in the service of the Lord, then how does it become very, very valuable? Think.
It becomes valuable because it's recognizing that relationship that we have, that everything that we have is not ours anyway, that it all comes from Krishna. Even a car, it's all his energy ultimately. So it's a recognition of that relationship.
So if you use that car to, say, drive to meet up with some sadhus, some saintly people, some mahatmas, some devotees of the Lord, so you're using it in a service, then how does that car become very valuable?
There's no reaction from that activity.
Yeah, there's no reaction. Say you on the road, you hit a kangaroo or a possum or something like that, then there's no reaction because you're using it to serve the Supreme. Otherwise, you would have got a reaction, and that would be binding for you, that you killed those living entities or you ran over some ants or something like that. But because you use it in the service of the Supreme, there's no reaction. But more than that, then the Supreme is pleased. Is Krishna's pleased, and if he's pleased, then you get the credit. That's your ticket. That car is your ticket out of here. That's the perfection of our life, is to please the Supreme. So it's like any kind of offering we make. Then let's just look in the 9th chapter, text 26. 9th chapter, text 26. Patram puspam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prachiti tadaham bhakti paratam ashnami prayatatmana. Who wants to read the English?
If the one offer me with a love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be any fancy thing, just even a basic thing like a fruit. Anyone can get a fruit or a flower, any flower, a leaf. But the main thing is what? What's the main thing? And mentioned twice here. What words mentioned twice here?
Love and devotion.
Yeah, love and devotion, bhakti. What any material thing, if you offer it with love to the Supreme, if the Supreme accepts it, wow, you hit the jackpot. If whatever you offered is accepted, if the Lord's pleased, and he does, he wants to start some loving exchange with us. So he's eager. Just like if the child has left the parent for a long time, the parent is like hanging out, when's my child coming back? If the child starts up the relationship again by giving something to the parent's going to accept it, whatever it is, so happily. It doesn't really matter what it is. but you're offering something. And the next verse says, so this is text 27. What does it say? What's English?
Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
Yes, the Krishna's saying, offer me something. Offer me something, anything. Whatever you do that for me. Offer it to me. Whatever austerities you do that for me. Yeah, we go through so many difficulties for our own sake. But instead of that, why don't we do something difficult for him? You know, like say maybe, well, you know, chanting 16 rounds is difficult. But you've done a lot of other difficult things for yourself. But how about you do something difficult for him? Or getting up early in the morning to do your bhakti. It's difficult. It's cold or whatever like that, or you're tired or whatever. It's difficult. But, you know, you've done so many difficulties for your own sake. Why don't you do something difficult for him? So anything. You like to give away things to people. Give away things, some charity, whatever. You give it away to the Blind Foundation, the Cancer Society, the AIDS thing, the poor, you know, animals, save the whales, whatever. But why don't you give something in charity for Krishna like that? So Krishna's calling out, give me something, offer me something. He wants our love. That's the main thing. It can be anything, but it's a token. But we're just showing, we want to show some external symbol that we want to have a loving relationship with him. Because if you want to love someone, or you do love someone, then naturally you'll give them something, won't you? Isn't it? It's natural, right? If you love someone or you want to develop some love for someone, then you'll give them something. You'll offer them something. So that's natural. So any material things that we have, whatever it may be. I mean, of course, if you have more valuable things, opulent things, you can offer that too. But if you don't, if you're like even the poorest person, even very simple things you can offer. So if you use whatever material things you have in the service of the Supreme, then those things are your ticket out of here. Because if the Supreme Person is pleased by your offerings, then your whole life will be blessed. Your whole life will be blessed. And then when your body dies, you won't have to come back again. So let's read the purport to what we're on today. Last week's one, which we didn't get to. So it's chapter 4, text 38. The purport. Who wants to read the purport? When we speak.
I'll read it if you like.
Yeah, who's keen? Speak.
I'm happy to read it.
Hey, speak.
When we speak of transcendental knowledge, we do so in terms of spiritual understanding. As such, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Ignorance is the cause of our bondage, and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. This knowledge is the mature fruit of devotional service. And when one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he need not search for peace elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. This knowledge and peace culminate in Krishna consciousness. Last word in the Bhagavad Gita.
Wow, how about that's far out, isn't it? Short and sweet, that sentence. That is the last word in the Bhagavad Gita. So what is Prabhupada saying? What's the last word in the Bhagavad Gita? It's not the end of the book, is it? But it means the conclusion. This is like the cream, the ultimate conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita is what? What is Prabhupada saying is the last word?
Krishna consciousness?
if we are Krishna conscious, then what will be the highest point that what we'll be experiencing in Krishna consciousness?
Peace.
Peace. The ultimate peace.
Blissful peace.
Isn't that what we all want? We all want happiness and peace. Of course, the prerequisite for happiness is peace, which you can see that in chapter 2, text 66, if you don't believe me. But that the prerequisite to happiness is peace. Without peace, you can't have happiness. That's in 266. Krishna mentions there. So, and he says you can't have peace if you don't have a steady mind. If your mind is not steady, and that's of course one of the main purposes of the yoga system, is to create a steady mind, control the mind. Very essential to control the mind, a steady mind. Why? Because that's when peace comes into your life. And when your mind is peaceful, when your mind is steady and you become peaceful, then you can fix your mind on the Supreme. And unlike in the Ashtanga yoga system, what the last of the 8 angas, the 8 parts, is samadhi. Your mind is completely in trance, a trance-like state, completely absorbed in one point, which for us is Krishna. For them, it's the Paramatma, the Super Soul, but completely absorbed and concentrating on the Supreme. So, and of course, that's the ultimate happiness. To be just always absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme, that's the ultimate happiness. But so that's the last word is happiness, right? The ultimate happiness. But that ultimate happiness, prerequisite to that is peace. Prerequisite to peace is a steady mind. Prerequisite to a steady mind is Krishna consciousness. So why is that? Because Krishna consciousness is the only thing that, or the Supreme person, Supreme Being, is the only object that can catch the mind, and not only attract the mind, but keep hold of the mind and not let it go. Because as you know, the mind is all over the place. And that's said in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, text number 35, I think, 34, 35. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadradam tasyaham nigram manye vaya eva suduskaram. Arjuna says, Krishna, the mind is so strong and obstinate and difficult to control. It's like trying to control the wind. How do you control the wind? So this is Arjuna's frustration and bewilderment. And he's much more highly qualified person than, 5,000 years ago as a Kshatriya and, a very aristocratic person and coming in a line of great devotees and everything than what we are now in Kali Yuga. What chance do we have to control the mind? The mind's so strong, isn't it? Anyone has any experience of that? Trying to deal with the mind, it drives you crazy sometimes, isn't it? Yeah, very difficult. And of course, we have all these problems in modern day society from that difficulty in controlling the mind, like loneliness, like depression, like hyperanxiety, hypertension. The list goes on. The list goes on of so many mental problems. Of course, it's said that 50 years ago, the main pharmaceutical drug was
aspirin, Vicks.
Aspirin, yes. Bob knows. Aspirin. Now the number one pharmaceutical drug is?
Antidepressant.
Antidepressant, yeah, antidepressant. So people can't control the mind. The mind's out of control. Arjuna was saying it 5,000 years ago. What to speak of now? It's completely out of control. So the mind. But there is one object that can grab the mind and take it away from all these trials and troubles and the objects that we're focusing on, which is causing us so much stress and anxiety and so forth, can take us away from all of those things and take us to a blissful place. And that object is?
Krishna.
Yeah, it's Krishna as a supreme person. One of Krishna's names is Manohar. Beautiful name. Can you all say that? Manohar. Mano means mind. And har means one who steals or takes away. So he like steals the mind. You know, what's the number one way that Krishna steals the mind? I'll give you a clue.
Oh, his flute.
When Krishna plays his flute, wow, your mind is just goes to that sound. It's such an amazing sound. Your mind becomes so captivated. It's like a magnet. And for whatever you're doing, you just forget about it. Whatever you're doing, you just forget about it. And you run to that sound. Where is that sound? I have to go to that sound. Krishna is calling. And it's just so attractive. That's why the name Krishna is there. It means all attractive. It's so attractive for our mind and our senses. Cupid, Kamdev, he himself is very attractive and he attracts everyone in the material world. You know, Cupid, Mr. Lust. So, and he fires his arrows in the hearts of men and women and in all species and makes them attracted to each other. But he himself, he heard that Krishna was in the material world in Vrindavan and that Krishna is more attractive than him. He couldn't believe that. That was a hard one to swallow. So he went, oh, I'll teach this Krishna a lesson. I'll take my bow and arrow and fire one at Krishna. So he went to Vrindavan and he had a hard time to see Krishna straight up because one of Krishna's transcendental qualities is he's always surrounded by loving devotees. So he couldn't even see Krishna because there's so many devotees around Krishna. He couldn't even see Krishna. But Krishna, being all-knowing, he knew, oh, Cupid, Kamdev has come to teach me a lesson. We'll teach him a lesson. So we'll let him see me for a moment. So here Krishna arranged that the devotees just parted a little bit. And Cupid caught a glimpse of Krishna, just a glimpse of Krishna's transcendentally effulgent, radiant form. And he was ready with his bow and arrows. And when he saw Krishna for a moment, you know what happened? He fell unconscious. It's that beautiful form coming into his eyes, into his mind, just overloaded his mind and senses. Overloaded his mind and senses and intellect. Was completely in overload and he just fell unconscious. Fell unconscious. So Krishna is so attractive, so attractive. And also that's Bhagavan, but God has three features, remember? And there's another one is, what's another feature of the Supreme? When you're talking about God, you're talking about three things. When you're talking about the Supreme, you're talking about Bhagavan, the Supreme Person, and?
You're talking about it, Krishna as a child?
No, that's also Bhagavan. That's the Supreme Person. But in a youthful, in the early appearance, he appeared as a child. Then he went up to a teenager and never went beyond a teenager stage. But what's another feature of the Supreme? Remember, three features.
All his energies, his different energies.
Yeah, so that's Brahman. That's Brahman, the all-pervading energies. And then there's what's in the heart?
Paramatma?
Yeah, Paramatma. Paramatma. So there's Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And also Paramatma is very attractive also. Sometimes the fortunate yogi gets the perfection of their yoga process and sees Paramatma and the super soul in the heart. And they also become very attracted. And they never think about anything else after that. After you see Paramatma in the heart, you never want to see anything else. And then at that point, you know, wherever the yogi looks, he always sees Paramatma. He's all he remembers. If he looks at a tree, if he looks at a lake, if he looks at the animals, he just sees Paramatma everywhere. You know? So once you've seen Paramatma, you never want to see anything else other than Paramatma. And the same Brahman is just a feeling of ultimate happiness, all-pervading, realizing the all-pervading nature of the Supreme. And that's in the last verse of the 14th chapter. You can check that out. It's about Brahman. It's about the different different experiences one realizes of Brahman. Brahmano hi pratistaham mamritasya vyasya cha shashvatasya chadamasya sukasya kantakasya cha. Ultimate happiness, this Brahman realization. Ultimate happiness. This is 1427, last chapter, the last text of the 14th chapter. And Krishna says, what does he say in that verse? Because some people say that Krishna is just a temporary manifestation of Brahman, the spiritual energy. Some transcendentalists say that Brahman is the ultimate, and Krishna is just a temporary manifestation of Brahman. But this verse, a very important verse, defeats that philosophy. Because in this verse, Krishna says, Brahmano hi pratistaham, that I am the resting place of Brahman. Not that I rest on Brahman, but that Brahman rests upon me. Krishna is the resting place of Brahman. That means he is the ultimate, and Brahman is a subordinate to him, not the other way around. That you have this ultimate all-pervading energy and that Krishna has come out of the energy. No, temporarily. No, that you have Krishna, and from Krishna the energy comes. And what do we call that? The energy coming from Krishna? That's called Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti. That's the spiritual light, all-pervading spiritual light. So that is Brahman. Brahman is that spiritual radiance, effulgence coming from Krishna's transcendental body. That is according to all the Vedas. To explain that, from Brahma Samhita through to the Puranas and Upanishads and through Bhagavad Gita, which is from the Mahabharata. So whichever way you look. So this is the nectar. So once we have realized Krishna consciousness and Brahman and Paramatma Bhagavan, then you so much taste, so much ecstasy, so much bliss. The mind automatically is grabbed. You caught the mind. But see, material things can't catch the mind. The mind's never satisfied. Doesn't matter how much money you have, you always want more. Isn't that stupid? One guy was earning, $50,000 a year, and he's thinking, oh, if I had $100,000 a year, I'll be happy. But he worked harder, and he got $100,000 a year. And do you know what he was thinking when he had $100,000? Was he happy?
No.
No.
I bet he just wanted to go back to 50,000 a year.
He realized I'm more unhappy now with 100,000 than when I had 50. I'm working harder. I have less time to do what I want to do. I'm just a slave to the work, everything like that. And he was just miserable. He was so frustrated. The material things, they're so insignificant, they can never satisfy us. See, the soul, we're like looking for an ocean of bliss, an ocean of nectar. Imagine we're like a big pot, which we want to fill up with nectar. But everything in the material world, money and the house and the car and the girls and everything, the clothes and the possessions, is like just a drop of nectar. It's just a drop. But you're a big pot. You want to fill up the pot. You don't just want one drop. Or imagine you're thirsty and you're in a desert, and so you're thirsty and you want to drink heaps of water, but someone just puts one drop in your mouth. Are you going to be satisfied?
Not at all.
It's going to make you more worse. I mean, it's better not to have any water than just someone puts one drop. that'd make your craving for it even more worse. You become completely crazy. How could you put one drop in my mouth? That's terrible. Because it gives you a hope. It gives you a false hope that the one drop that I'm going to get the water, but it's never there. It's never, like they call that in the desert, right? The mirage. But it gives you a false hope that I'm going to find that water. Like we get a little bit of happiness in the material. What does that make us think? That gives us a false hope. I can find happiness here. It's here. I can find it. I haven't got it now, but I had a little bit. I can find it. But you don't find it. You never find it. No matter how much you get. Someone said something?
No.
No? So it gives us that's the problem with sense gratification. It gives just a drop of happiness. And that gives us a false hope that we can find the real happiness in the material world, but we never can. So we're like that donkey following the carrot. And you're always chasing that carrot. And in the meantime, you're carrying the master has put a heavy burden on your back of so many tons of clothes and sticks and, logs and everything. You're carrying this massive burden. But why are you doing that, such hard labor? Because you think you're going to get that sweet carrot. So it's like that. So the little bit of enjoyment that's available in the material world makes it even more worse for the mind. It drives people crazy. And but the real thing to satisfy the mind is the Supreme in the form of Brahman and Paramatma and Bhagavan. That gives us unlimited bliss, unlimited happiness. And like I said, included within that happiness is peace. When we're fully experiencing peace, you become completely happy. And that, like I said, that peace only comes when your mind is completely fixed on one point, completely steady. And the only way, like I said, to steady the mind, to control the mind is
transcendental knowledge.
Yeah, transcendental knowledge, and then through that transcendental knowledge, you concentrate on the Supreme.
Mm.
See, the transcendental knowledge is directing us to have a relationship with the Supreme. It's telling us you're not the body, you're a soul. The soul is part and parcel of the Supreme. You should have a relationship with the Supreme. And then as soon as you do that, the transcendental knowledge is directing you to have a relationship with the Supreme. And as soon as you do that, then immediately all your problems are solved. Your mind becomes steady, you become peaceful, you become happy. And then like this verse is saying that ignorance is the cause of bondage and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. So that's why there's nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Why it's the best thing in the material world is because it's the cause of liberation. This knowledge is going to bring us to freedom. Freedom from what? What do you want to get free from? Freedom from suffering. When it talks about liberation, why does it talk about liberation? Why does it talk about freedom? What do we want to become free from? We want to become free from suffering. And that's what is that suffering? Suffering is the material world. What is the material world full of? Birth and old age and disease and death. So that's what we want to get free from. That's what do we get liberated from? Those things. That's what we want to get liberated from, those things. And transcendental knowledge is going to liberate us from those things. Why are we in the material world now? And why do we continue to be in the material world? It's because of ignorance. Because we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten who the Supreme is. We've forgotten our relationship with the Supreme. So the scriptures re-establish our relationship with the Supreme, which in Sanskrit is called Sambandha. S-A-M-B-A-N-D-A. Sambandha means relationship. The scriptures re-establishes our lost relationship with the Supreme, our Sambandha. And then it tells us what is the process to re-establish that relationship. How can we reconnect? We have a relationship with the Supreme, which we've forgotten, But how can we reawaken that or reestablish that? That's called abhidaya. Abhidaya. Abhidaya, something like that. Abhidaya. And then once you follow that process to reestablish your relationship, then what is going to be the result? What's the goal? That's called prayojana. It was more easier when I was with you in the Bhakti tree because I could just write it on the board. Now I have to spell it out. Now it's P-R-A-Y O-N-A, prayojana. No, not Y. J. Sorry, J. Yeah. P-R-A-Y-O-J-A-N-A. Yeah.
Eh,
Not very good with my spelling.
it's hard.
Prayojana. So that's the goal. That's said to be the goal of human life, is to reawaken our love for God. That's what we're like. We're like a pot, wanting, searching for bliss, searching for nectar. What is that bliss? What is that nectar? That's love. Love is the real nectar. That's what the soul is made for. Experiencing that love, giving that love, and receiving that love. Our nature is to give love, which is, as we know in the Vedas, is not just a noun. It's not a naming word. It's a verb. If you love someone, you do something for them. So love means bhakti. Love means service. That service to Krishna. That's what we're made for, that purpose. That's our exclusive reason for existence. That's what we're made. Krishna made us for that purpose, to give love, to give service, bhakti to him. And then he also, his nature is unlimited reservoir of all love. He just gives out love everywhere. He just gives out unlimited love. And he's the only one that has that capacity to fill all our pots. Deepa's a pot and Bob's a pot and Gulshan's a pot. And we're all wanting, tons and tons of bliss and nectar and love and everything. Bhakti Mala, like that. Sarah, like that. We're all, Josh, everyone, we're all just like, and who can fill up all of our pots at the same time? That's only Krishna can do that. His unlimited love. Unlimited love. Like when Krishna was on this planet, 16,108 wives. He made them all feel so happy at the same time. Who can do that? We can't even satisfy one wife. One wife, they're unhappy. But Krishna can make them all happy. And he made all the cows happy, and all the cowherd boys happy, and the parents happy, and all the birds in the river, and everything was happy. It's said that what is Vrindavan? What is the meaning of Vrindavan? Vrindavan is that place where everyone loves Krishna.
Oh,
That's what Vrindavan means. Vrindavan doesn't just mean a place in India. Vrindavan means that place where everyone loves Krishna. So even at New Gokula Farm, if everyone loves Krishna, that's Vrindavan. Or wherever you are in Newcastle or whatever, if you have an atmosphere saturated with love for Krishna, that's Vrindavan. One time Advaitacharya said to Lord Chaitanya, that wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. That is Vrindavan, wherever you are. Actually, Advaitacharya tricked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He tricked him to come to his house, which is in a place called Shantipur, near to Mayapur, in Navadvip, in West Bengal. West Bengal's very far away from Vrindavan, which is in a completely different part of India. So, but he was tricked. Lord Chaitanya was tricked. Advaitacharya got these devotees to direct Lord Chaitanya the wrong direction, direct him towards his home in Shantipur. And then And so he was going along the river, because in India they often travel along the rivers in boats, not so much on the road, because they've got so many good rivers everywhere. So they just go by boat. It's a very nice way to travel, very easy way to travel, and you can have a bath and everything in the holy river and stuff. So anyway, they're going by boat. And then Lord Chaitanya is going in the boat, thinking he's just about in Vrindavan, on the Yamuna. He's on the Yamuna going to Vrindavan, and then he sees Advaita Acharya coming towards him in a boat. And Lord Chaitanya said, Advaita Acharya, what are you doing in Vrindavan? Why have you left Shantipur? And then Lord Chaitanya, he realized, he's tricked me. He's arranged that I come to Shantipur. And Advaita Acharya said, no, this is not Shantipur. That wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. Actually, Lord Chaitanya was very happy. But Advaita Acharya was had so much hankering in his heart to associate with Lord Chaitanya. This is love. If you love someone, you just want to be with them. You just want to be with them. And if you're not with them, I mean physically, then you're feeling separation. You're feeling separation. When you're feeling separation from someone that you love, what are you always thinking?
Thinking of them.
You're thinking of them. You're thinking about when you're going to meet them. You're thinking about when you're going to next meet and what you're going to do. You're thinking about meeting them. You know, so this is called Vipralamba Seva. I don't know how I got to this point, but this is actually the topmost part of the Hare Krishna philosophy, of the Vedanta. This is you're probably not qualified to hear any of this, but this is the topmost part of the Vedic philosophy, is love, but not just love. Well, love in a feeling of separation. That's the topmost. There's different levels of love. So the topmost level of love is that the feeling of love when we're feeling separation from the person we love. That's the topmost perfection of love, according to the Vaishnava philosophy. And of course, the other kind of love is when you're actually with the person you love. But it's said that when you're not with the person, when you're not with the Lord, when you're with the Lord, and when you're not with the Lord, being not with the Lord is more higher, because the feelings of separation make the love increase even more higher. So that's why Krishna does what? What does Krishna do sometimes? Very naughty. Externally. What does Krishna do sometimes with his devotees? Is he always with all of his devotees all the time?
I would think yes.
No, he's not with them all the time. Krishna developed such a loving relationship with the devotees in Vrindavan. Then what did he do?
He left.
He left.
Disappeared.
He left Vrindavan. When he left Vrindavan, did that make their love go down?
No.
Mm-hmm.
It went up. It went off the Richter scale. It was already nearly off the Richter scale. And when he left, it went completely off the Richter scale.
Mm-hmm.
Then they couldn't get Krishna out of their mind. They couldn't get Krishna out of their head for a moment. It's actually said in the scriptures that actually Krishna didn't leave Vrindavan. I mean, in one sense, physically he left Vrindavan, because he left Vrindavan to go to Mathura to kill Kamsa. But he remained in Vrindavan. Where? Well, in one way, physically he left. He went with Akrura on the chariot to go to Mathura, being after Kamsa had called him. But where did he go? It said he went into the hearts. He went into the hearts of all the devotees in Vrindavan. He went into their hearts. And they couldn't get Krishna out of their mind for a second. They were always thinking about them whenever they were churning butter or herding the cows or looking after the kids or cooking or cleaning the house, or it was just Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Always searching for Krishna. This was their mood of executing Krishna consciousness. Very wonderful. Anyway, that's very elevated topics. So that's something about the goal. That's something about what the goal to get there. We're not there yet. Are we always thinking about Krishna? I mean, maybe you are. I'm not always thinking about Krishna. But that's our goal, to have that intense love for Krishna. If you love someone, you can't stop thinking about them. You can't stop thinking about them. It's the nature of love. Okay, so let's look at text 39. Let's look at text 39. So you've got that. Chapter 4, text 39. We'll read the Sanskrit together. Okay, let's go. Shradava labhate jnanam tatpara samyatindriya jnanam labha param shantim achirein adhigacchati. And we'll read it again. Shradava labhate jnanam tatpara samyatindriya jnanam labha param shantim achirein adhigacchati. Okay, who's keen to read the English?
A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace.
So wonderful verse. So here in this verse, so we heard about the glories of transcendental knowledge in the last verse. It's the most, nothing is more pure or sublime as transcendental knowledge. It's the fruit of all yoga practice, and then that it's automatically you get knowledge as a culmination of your bhakti, of your devotion. So in this verse, we're finding out about what's the criteria, what's the qualification to get this knowledge. So what's the first thing mentioned here? Shraddha, this very important word, Shraddha. Prabhupada's going to talk about it. He actually defines what Shraddha, what faith is. Very important to have an understanding about faith. What is faith? So to get jnanam, see, jnanam is knowledge. So labhate achieves. So who achieves the knowledge? A faithful person. A faithful person achieves knowledge. Faith in what?
Faith in Krishna.
Yeah, you have to have faith in Krishna. That faith in Krishna, that he's the supreme and that we're his servant. And that just by serving him, all perfection will be there for me. That is how does Prabhupada say it in the purport? It's so lovely what he says. Oh, let's read the purport, because it's a short purport. Okay, who wants to read the purport? Who hasn't read yet? Read the purport. Someone can read the purport who hasn't read?
I can do it, mate, if you wish.
Yeah, go for it.
Such knowledge in Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. I emphasize delay.
Without delay, yeah. Without delay. Achirena. Achirena digachati. Achieves it without delay. Without delay. So we can attain the supreme peace very quickly if we follow this process. So it's so nice, isn't it, with how Prabhupada defined faith? What did he say? One is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness he can attain the highest perfection. So that's what faith is, according to Prabhupada is saying here, that we want to have faith that if I can somehow or other, if I can just become Krishna conscious, then that's the topmost perfection for me. That's the highest. There's nothing more than that. There's nothing more than that. That's perfection. That my life is successful. My life is perfect. My life's successful if I can become Krishna conscious. We want to have faith in that. We want to be convinced. We want to be completely convinced about that. That if I just become Krishna conscious, my life's successful, completely successful. It's perfect. So we want to have that conviction, that faith. Another place Prabhupada uses the word when he's explaining faith, he uses the word conviction. So it's a conviction that if I can just engage in devotional service, become Krishna conscious, then my life is successful, completely perfect. So if we have that faith, then that will help us to get transcendental knowledge. You're going to accelerate more faster in getting transcendental knowledge if you're a faithful person. The next verse after this talks about the faithless people. This is what we don't want to be. You know, the faithless. If you don't have faith that Krishna is the supreme and that you're a servant, if you don't have faith in the scriptures, then what's the result of that if you don't have faith? But in this verse, we're talking about someone that has faith, then they can quickly get transcendental knowledge. If you don't have faith in the scriptures and Krishna, then you're never going to get transcendental knowledge. You're never going to get transcendental knowledge. I sent an email to my father, and I explained some transcendental knowledge to him. I shouldn't have actually. It was a mistake on my part. I should have realized it's a complete waste of time. So I explained some really basic transcendental knowledge, that we're not the body, that we're a spirit soul, and explaining logically how we can prove that we are the soul, that there's something more than just chemicals and matter to us, that consciousness comes from the soul. And it was very logical and everything. But he just didn't get it. And it disturbed him so much. He said, I couldn't even sleep. After reading your email, I couldn't sleep, and my mind was so disturbed. He just couldn't get it. And then I realized it's like this, because he doesn't have any faith. He doesn't have any faith. So he's disqualified from transcendental knowledge.
Where the faith come from?
Huh?
Where the faith come from?
Well, that's our free choice. That's our free choice. What you want to put your faith in. You want to put faith in sense gratification, in materialistic life, in sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or you want to put faith in trying to get out of this material world and looking for beyond this material world. And accepting that you're a subordinate, that you're a servant of the Supreme. So that's our choice. See, everyone has faith. It's not a question. Yeah, well, I mean, when it says faithless, it doesn't actually mean faithless. I mean, no one can be faithless. I mean, everyone has faith in something, but it's what you put faith in. See, when it's talking about faithless here, faith or faithless, it's talking about faith in the Supreme, or faithless means you don't have faith in the Supreme. But see, like, for example, a materialist has faith in their strength, in their abilities, in their intelligence. They have faith in their family will help them to be happy. They have faith that if I make more money, I'll be happy. They have faith that the government will protect them and make them feel safe. Or what, they have faith that their own strength will protect them from all dangers. Or we have faith in the scientists, isn't it? That's a big one these days. So many of us, we have so much faith in the scientists and in science, that science will solve all my problems, that I'll become perfect through science. I'll become successful through the technology of science. Will solve all of my problems through science. Actually, we have faith that Krishna will solve all of our problems. That Krishna will make our life successful. He will solve all of our problems. He will make us happy. So everyone has faith. But it's just a matter of, with your free choice, where are you going to put your faith? Where are you going to invest your faith? What are you going to become convinced about? Are you convinced that materialism is the be all and end all of everything? There's nothing beyond that? Or are you convinced that there's nothing beyond Krishna? Then he's the topmost.
Mm.
So the thing is, how do you develop faith? That's the next question. You know, how did you develop faith that if you did a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science or a doctorate in medicine or whatever, how did you end up having faith that your life's going to be completely perfect and successful if you did that? Or how did you get the faith that if you became a millionaire, you're going to become completely happy and everything? How did you get that material-based faith?
It's from what people tell us.
Yeah, it's so important. Through what we hear. It's through hearing we develop faith in something, by hearing about it. How did we all start Krishna consciousness? You know how it started for all of us? Tell me, you know, because you started. How did you start?
It's what you said to me.
Yeah, so you heard from somebody about Krishna. It's through hearing. There's 9 processes, right? 9 processes of bhakti yoga. Which is number 1? Which is number 1? Which is the first process?
Service to Krishna.
What's that?
Service to Krishna.
Yeah, there's 9 ways of serving Krishna. So what's the number 1 way?
Hearing?
Hearing, Shravanam. Through Shravanam. That's what awakens our faith. When we hear about Krishna consciousness, we hear about devotional service. When you hear, chant and be happy. And that plants it in your mind, through your ear, into your mind, into your heart. Maybe if I chant Hare Krishna, maybe I can be happy. I want to be happy. I've tried so many ways to be happy and I'm not happy. I have never tried chanting Hare Krishna. This person said, chant and be happy. Maybe if I chant Hare Krishna, I can be happy. Or these Hare Krishnas, they look happy. Maybe if I hang out with them, I can also be happy. And then you develop some faith that maybe I should be with these Hare Krishnas and then I'll become happy. Isn't it? Maybe you have your different experiences in that you'd like to share. Maybe you'd like to share. How did you develop faith?
Ape,
Yep.
Whereabouts in the Bhagavad Gita does it tell you the 9 ways of faith?
No, the 9 processes of devotional service.
Yeah. Is it in the Bhagavad Gita?
That's not mentioned in the translations.
Right.
That's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's
Okay.
explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's like the postgraduate degree of Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
So, but it's mentioned in some of the purports. Now, which purports? Whether it's all 9 are mentioned in one purport, I think it is, but I would have to research and find that out, which purport in the Bhagavad Gita. But I know where it is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's in the 7th canto.
That's all right.
So,
I'll just have to wait.
so you will research where it's mentioned in the purports in the Bhagavad Gita, and also we can give you the reference for the where it is in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Right.
Yeah, so faith, yeah. So that's the thing, you know, even materially, right? Where did we get the idea to do a degree, to spend 3, 5, 7 years to go to university? Someone told us about it. Hey man, this degree is so cool, you know, and if you do this psychology degree or this engineering degree, you're gonna really have a great time, and you're gonna make a lot of money, and you're gonna be successful, and you're gonna be rich, and you're gonna be famous, and you're gonna be popular, and everyone's gonna love you. And you know, we heard that crap.
Word of mouth.
So we got sucked in, we believed in it, so the problem was we put our faith, invested our faith in the wrong way, but listening to some blind person. That the blind follow the blind. You ever heard that saying before? The blind follow the blind?
Yep.
Blind following the blind. If a blind person follows another blind person, do you know where they're going to end up? Lost, and probably in a ditch somewhere. Lost in a ditch somewhere. So that's a bad idea for an ignorant person to follow another ignorant person. So we put our faith in these ignorant people and what they say and what they do, and we follow that, and we have some faith in that, and we end up so disappointed and disillusioned and frustrated and so many things. But through that frustration and that, if we cry out to the Lord and genuinely seek for something higher, something better, and then often what we find is that the Lord arranges that we can meet with his devotees. I remember at a point where I was so frustrated following, the materialistic path, putting my faith in so many materialistic pursuits, and becoming so frustrated to the point where I was so exhausted, and I was just searching for something higher. I didn't know what the higher thing was, but I didn't want anything to do with this materialistic world. I just wanted to get out of it. And at that point, Krishna arranged that I met a devotee. And then I was so ready to put my faith there. And he was just so happy person and so peaceful. Talking about peace and happiness, he was just a living example, of peace and happiness and knowledge. All the things that I didn't have that I wanted. I wanted knowledge, and I wanted peace, I wanted happiness, and I didn't have any of them. And I wanted that, and I met someone that had it, and then that awakened in my heart some faith that maybe he's got what I want. I just hang out with him. And then he told me there was a whole community of people like him. I said, what? I've never met one person like you. And now you're saying there's a whole community of people like you? Take me there. And there was the Hare Krishna farm in Auckland. So I immediately left the work I was doing. We were working on a woofing farm, an organic farm. And the boss of the farm, he had a fit. He was so angry that his good worker was being taken away by this other worker who was a Hare Krishna. He was so upset. And then, but I didn't care. I'd already had some faith that maybe this is it. Maybe this is what's going to make me perfect, make me happy. And it did. And it did. So this is how we develop faith, through association in any way. Whether it's faith in materialism, whether it's faith and you have so much faith in sex, drugs, and rock and roll, it's because you're associating with people that have faith in sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know, saying if you associate with a drunkard, there's a very good chance you will become a
drunkard.
Yeah. And if you associate with a saint, there's a very good chance you will become a
saint.
So your choice. Where are you gonna? Where do you want your faith to go? You know, so that's the power of association, and especially hearing. That's where we get the ideas to pursue a different path. We get this through hearing. That's where the ideas get planted, like that. And through association, we get those different ideas. You know, the first wife that Krishna married, her name was Rukmini. Now, so earlier on in her life, she had never seen Krishna. But she developed an incredibly strong desire to marry Krishna. It was just burning in her heart day and night, overwhelming her. She didn't have any interest to marry anyone else except for Krishna, but she'd never even seen Krishna. How the hell did she get such a strong desire and faith to marry Krishna, and that her life would be successful if she married Krishna without even seeing Krishna? Who knows? She is a daughter of a king named Bhishmaka, and her name's Rukmini. So the system in India traditionally was that the saintly people would travel from king to king and preaching to them, enlightening them about Krishna consciousness. This is a very clever system, because if the devotees impart the knowledge to the leaders of society, the kings are like the leaders of society, then the king will impart that to all the citizens, all the subjects. So that's a very powerful way to spread Krishna consciousness. You don't have to go and preach to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, you know, everyone in Australia or everyone in New Zealand or everyone in India. You just preach to the person on top, and they will enforce it. If you can develop faith in them and infect them with the knowledge and get them to believe in it, then they will enforce it to everyone else in the country. So that was a very clever system. Of course, now the problem is, you know what the problem is now? The leaders don't have faith in the devotees and the saintly people. The devotees can't get access to the leaders. The leaders won't listen to the devotees. But previously, everyone respected the saintly people, the devotees, the brahmanas. Everyone respected the brahmanas, and the kings especially also respected the brahmanas. That was part of the culture. So, but now that's fallen apart, so good luck. And now we have so many problems. As a result, that knowledge is not getting passed through the society anymore. So like Narada Muni would go and visit Bhishmaka, and he would be just glorifying Krishna, his names and qualities and pastimes and everything like that. And Rukmini, a young girl, was regularly hearing all this wonderful knowledge about Krishna, how beautiful Krishna is, how knowledgeable Krishna is, how wealthy Krishna is, how famous Krishna is, how renounced Krishna is, how strong Krishna is. He's unlimited. Remember, that's what Bhagavan means, right? Bhagavan, God, or in Sanskrit, Bhagavan, means that person that possesses all six opulences in full. What are the six opulences? I just said them. In full, totally, all of it. Unlimited strength, wealth, beauty, fame, renunciation, all those things. So when Rukmini was hearing about this, wow, there's no man more beautiful than Krishna, more wealthy, knowledgeable like that, so forth, then her heart, she gave her heart to Krishna without even seeing him. Then in due course, when her brother tried to marry her to another guy named Shishupal, she just had a fit. She was so upset, and she sent a message with a brahmana to where Krishna was in Dwarka. Come and save me. I want to marry you. I don't want to marry this guy, Shishupal. I want to marry you. Come and save me. You better hurry up, because my marriage ceremony is only in a couple of days. You better hurry up and get me, kidnap me, otherwise I'm stuffed, and I'm not going to be able to live. So Krishna was his heart was very softened by this appeal from this beautiful devotee. So he immediately jumped on his chariot like the speed of wind. He was very far away where she was, and he went the whole night. He drove the whole night on the chariot. Daruka was driving, and they were speeding along. And don't think there's actually a calculation. I calculated it out in the Krishna book, that he must have been driving. They must have been going in the chariot 100 miles an hour in that chariot. So don't think that there's these primitive tribes and they're in chariots and they're slow, and now we're fast. Now we're so stuck in traffic you can't even drive, fast. Now actually in New Zealand there was a freak wind in Auckland, and there was a heavy truck was pushed on the bridge. The harbour bridge was pushed, the main bridge in Auckland that connects the North Shore to the south. The main traffic flow goes on that bridge. The truck was pushed by the wind and smashed a very important beam on that bridge. That's made it dangerous, so they're worried about that. So now they've blocked the bridge, only got a couple lanes working there, and all the other lanes are closed. So now there's massive traffic problems in Auckland, and you can only drive at snail's pace, through Auckland. So they're really slow. But Krishna, he's motoring along 100 miles an hour on his chariot. And anyway, they reached there. And then Krishna just nonchalantly, all these other kings are also there to check out the bride, because she's the most beautiful woman in the world. She's like a goddess of fortune, Rukmini. She's actually Mahalakshmi. And they were there to make sure that because they knew that Krishna might come and try to kidnap her. And they also actually all wanted her as their bride. They were all attracted to her. And I'll tell you, actually, she went to, just before the marriage ceremony, it's a tradition, and the Kshatriyas would go to do some puja in the Durga temple, because generally Kshatriyas worship Durga and Shiva's wife, and because she's the source of all material power, Shakti. So she came out of that temple, and she was fully covered by sari. Could hardly see any of her skin or anything. She was covered from head to foot. But even just that, even her body, even fully covered with a sari, even just a little bit they could see, and just her features. They were sitting on elephants, some of them. Some of them were sitting on horses. Some of them were sitting on chariots. They fell off. Can you imagine? These are the powerful Kshatriyas. These are not wimps. They just fell off their different carriers, just indicating how beautiful she was. She's so beautiful, and then Krishna just nonchalantly comes in on his chariot, extends his hand to her, and lifts her up onto the chariot, and then he just in a very calm, relaxed way, just cruises off in his chariot. And these guys are all picking themselves up off the ground and realizing, oh my God, she's been kidnapped. So then they took off with all their weapons and paraphernalia and everything to chase Krishna and Rukmini. And Krishna asked Rukmini to drive the chariot. And then he took up his bow, Sharanga bow, and arrows, and blasted the whole army It was just Krishna against a whole army, because all these Kshatras had their armies with them. So Krishna defeated the whole army by himself. So that's what I mean. It's so attractive that he's so powerful. He's unlimitedly powerful like that. So yeah, this is how we develop faith, is through hearing. Like many develop faith in Krishna through hearing. We're developing faith, in hearing. So you just want to hear about that. And then, of course, we have to protect the faith that we're trying to develop in Krishna by not hearing about materialistic things. So that's a very important part of Krishna consciousness too. Not to associate with materialistic people, especially closely, especially when it comes to hearing all the trash from them. Of course, we have to work with people that are not devotees, and we meet with them at the supermarket, the petrol station, so forth, but not to get close to them to the point where you're constantly hearing all kind of nonsense, materialistic trash that puts into our brain, some idea that, you can squeeze some happiness out of material life. If you eat this thing, you'll be happy. If you have sex with that one, you'll be happy. If you make this money, you'll be happy. And then we run the risk of, developing faith in something that's going to just hurt us more like that. So there's pros and cons there. So on the pro side, we should hear more from devotees. And on the con side, we should avoid hearing from, materialistic people, their bad ideas. So yeah, faith. That's how, if we have faith in Krishna, then very quickly we'll develop the transcendental knowledge. Krishna is going to be pleased. See, when Krishna is in your heart, when he sees that you believe in him, you believe that you're a soul, that you're part and parcel of him, that you're a servant, that he's the supreme person. When Krishna sees you have that faith, then he's going to be so happy with you. And what is he going to do? Krishna's in your heart. He's going to give you knowledge. He's just going to give it to you. That's why then this verse says very quickly. You very quickly achieve this knowledge and very quickly achieve peace. Krishna's just going to, that's the beauty of bhakti yoga. It's not just, you have to work so hard. You have to do all the austerities and sacrifices, and the spiritual life is so hard. It's actually very easy, this path of bhakti yoga. Why is it easy? Because Krishna just gives you everything. All you have to do, which is mentioned here, is to do these simple processes of bhakti yoga that pleases Krishna. You have to initiate this process of hearing about Krishna, chanting about, like it's mentioned here, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So if you hear about Krishna, Krishna's pleased. He's going to give you knowledge. If you chant Krishna's names, Krishna's pleased. He's going to give you transcendental knowledge. Like that. If you remember Krishna, that's another process. He's going to be pleased, and he's going to give you transcendental knowledge. If you take prasadam, he's going to be pleased, and he's going to give you transcendental knowledge. So like that, if you follow this process of devotional service, the result will be Krishna's pleased, and the result of pleasing Krishna is that he's going to give you knowledge in your heart. So from inside, Krishna's in your heart, he's giving you knowledge, and from outside, Krishna appears as, if you don't know this, you're in big trouble. Krishna appears internally as the super soul and gives you knowledge, and Krishna appears externally also in the form of the. You don't know how Krishna appears externally to ourselves, to each of us?
As himself? Or
Really? Krishna came himself to you outside? You were very lucky.
no.
As a devotee? The devotee?
Yeah, as the devotee, as a spiritual master.
Yes.
Remember, you had the instructing guru, the instructing spiritual master, Shiksha Guru, and you have the Diksha Guru, the initiating spiritual master. So it said that Krishna appears within you as the super soul, and he appears outside of you as the spiritual master, as the devotee, giving you transcendental knowledge. We've just read that, right? That's the verse we just read, text 34 of this chapter. Tadvidi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevya. That's the one I said I opened up the Bhagavad Gita randomly for a month and it kept opening this page. Just try and learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Inquire submissively from him. Render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. The seer of the truth has seen Krishna. So this is how Krishna appears externally. When Krishna is pleased, he sends a devotee to you. How do you know that Krishna is pleased with you?
He sends a devotee to you.
Yeah. If you have association of devotees, you know Krishna's pleased. You don't have to think, oh, is Krishna pleased or not pleased? How do I know? How do I don't know? I don't know. I don't know. Is Krishna pleased? Is he not pleased? If you got the association of his loving devotees, Krishna's pleased. And if you just start to realize stuff within your heart, this is making sense. I understand it. What I just read in the Bhagavad Gita, I understand it. That Krishna is pleased. He's enlightening you within your heart. Very important verses. These are some of the seed verses in the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 10, text 10, and text 11. Taisam sarada yuktanam bhajatam pradipurvikam dadami buddhi yogam tam yayana mamupiyantate. To those who are constantly serving me with love, I, dwelling in their heart, give them the, what does it say? How does it say exactly?
Understanding by which they can come to me.
Yeah, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. If you constantly serve Krishna with love, so if you have faith in Krishna, and you're serving Krishna with love, obviously you're not going to serve Krishna and you're not going to have any love for Krishna if you don't have faith. Faith is the first thing. Forget about love. First of all, talk about faith. You can't have love without faith, isn't it? First thing is faith. Actually, there's a whole systematic sequence of how the love for Krishna develops. And what's the beginning of it? Adol Shraddha. The beginning is faith. And what's the end of it? Prema. Prema means pure love. But it begins with faith. And how does it go next from faith? Adol Shraddha. Ata Sadhu Sangha. Means association with devotees. In the beginning we have faith, which arises due to association with devotees. And then it continues on. Bhajana Kriya. Then in that association of devotees, you start to take things seriously and you get initiated. And then you take up the process in a very steady way. So that's called Bhajana Kriya. And then the next thing is Anartha Nivriti. So when you engage in the process of Bhakti Yoga very seriously, then all the anarthas, remember I used that word, all the unwanted things, all the things that have no value, all the unwanted things get cleared out of the heart. Like for what's the example of the anarthas, the unwanted things? Lust gets cleared out. Greed gets cleared out. Anger gets cleared out. Envy gets cleared out. Pride gets cleared out. Madness gets cleared out. These are all the dirty things in the heart. All the rubbish in the heart gets cleared out when we seriously practice this Bhakti Yoga process. Then after the rubbish gets cleared out, then what's the next stage is called Nishta. That means you become steady. You become very fixed. Now, isn't it? Have you noticed? We go one day up, one day down, one day up, one day down, 1 week up, 1 week down. We're not very steady. We're not very steady, not very fixed. But after all the rubbish is, why we're not? Because all the rubbish in the heart is there, disturbing us all the time. But once the rubbish is cleared out, a very wonderful thing happens. We become very fixed, very like a mountain. Nothing can move you from Krishna consciousness. And then comes the next stage, ruchi. That means taste. Sometimes we're enjoying the taste of halava, the taste of curd sabji, and the taste. Sometimes we enjoy the taste of chanting. Wow, that was a really nice kirtan on Friday night. That was really amazing. I really enjoyed that, or that talk was really cool. Sometimes we have a taste and sometimes not. But at that point, you're always tasting nectar. always tasting nectar. Then after ruchi, taste, then comes atasakti, means attachment. You become completely attached to Krishna. So attached. Very attached to Krishna. Atasakti. Then comes bhav. Bhav means ecstasy. Ecstasy all the time. Tears coming out of the eyes, hair standing on end, voice choking up, sometimes falling on the ground unconscious. There's 8 different kinds, Astasatvika Bhav. And then the final perfection of life. What's the perfection? Prema. Pure love. Pure love for the Supreme. So this is very exciting, and it's very scientific, step by step process, but it begins with Shraddha, with faith, which is developed in the association of devotees. So then that verse in the 10th chapter says, to those who constantly serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So that's the Lord in our heart enlightening us. If we have some faith and we start to serve him, then he enlightens us within our heart. And the next verse, very wonderful, showing them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts destroy with the lamp of knowledge, the torchlight of knowledge, the darkness born of ignorance. The darkness born of ignorance. Remember, what's our number one problem in this material world? What's keeping us in the material is ignorance. And Krishna himself takes up the task to get rid of the ignorance for the devotee. To give knowledge to the devotee and get rid of the ignorance. Krishna himself takes up the task. All you have to do is try to serve him with as much love as you can. Serve him with as much love as you can. And don't tell me you don't have any love. Because you love your family, and you love your dog and your cat, and you love your countrymen, you love your Aussies, and you love your partners, and you love your kids and your parents. And so we got lots of love. We're just directing it to 100 million different ways. So like Krishna's saying here, offer your love to me. Like we read that before, right? Whatever you do that for me. Whatever you offer, give away, give that for me. Whatever austerities you do it for me. So just, you have love. There's no question that you have love. It's just you giving it so many directions. And you can still love your family. It's not that you have to stop loving your family or whatever else, your cat and your dog. But direct your love towards Krishna too. In fact, if you love Krishna, included within Krishna is everything else. So if you can actually develop your love for Krishna, you'll love all the dogs and all the cats and all the men and all the women and all the, like Prabhupada said, why you just love your family? Why do you don't love the neighbor's family? That's very deficient, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's very limited, isn't it? What's that about? What kind of love is that? That's love. If it's connected with your body, you love it. And if it's not connected with your body, you don't. That's so selfish. What kind of love is that? That's lust. That's not love.
It's conditional.
It's very conditional. You're connected to me and you're pleasing me. And even if you are my family and you don't please me anymore, I hate you. But what kind of love was that? You know, a week ago you said you love me, but now you're saying you hate my guts because I'm not pleasing you anymore. So what kind of love is that? That if I please you, you love me? And if I don't please you, you don't love me? Well, that's lust. Love is unconditional. You know? And the nearest example Prabhupada gives is the relationship between the mother and the child. Because even if the children treat the mother very badly, you know, the mother still loves. The parents still love. It's near to that. But it's not completely perfect, Prabhupada said, the mother's love. Because the mother's thinking in the back of her mind, then in future, you know, when I'm old and that, and my kids are going to look after me. So, you know, might be some calculation of return there, which is not perfect. Because pure love means you're never thinking about getting anything out of it. You're never thinking about any return. It's unconditional. And even if there's no return, you're still going to serve like that. But these are These are very interesting things. Yeah, so there's no difficulty. Hang on. No difficulty for a devotee to get transcendental knowledge, because from outside is the spiritual master and the devotees, and from inside is the Lord in the heart, is going to be enlightening the devotee. Going to be enlightening the devotee. But we just have to develop this faith to start the process. At least we need enough faith to start the process, which is to associate with devotees. And if you have that much faith that you're attracted to associating with the devotees, then you're very fortunate. Actually, there's one beautiful prayer that I love in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is saying, the devotees praying to the Lord, as I have to repeatedly take my birth in this material world due to my past misdeeds. See, the devotee is very humble. The devotee is not thinking I'm perfect and I'm transcendental. He's thinking I'm very sinful. This is a real devotee. He's very humble. He's not puffed up. He's thinking I'm not a devotee. I'm not a devotee. I'm just trying to be a devotee. I'm very sinful. I've done so many bad karmas. So anyway, this devotee is praying, as I have to take birth repeatedly due to my past misdeeds, may I, wherever I take birth, have the association of your loving devotees. This is his prayer. As I take birth again and again in this material world, may, please, I just pray one thing. I beg you, my Lord, one thing. Please give me the association, life after life, of your loving devotees. Bhavat prasanganam sangasyanno bhave bhave. And Prabhupada says in the purport, he says, this is the best prayer. It's far out, huh? He says in the purport, this is the best thing to pray for. To always pray for the association of devotees. Because if you have the association of devotees, you're in the best situation in the material world. It means wherever there's devotees, they're going to be talking about Krishna. They're not going to be talking about material things. And they're going to be chanting Hare Krishna. And they're going to be distributing prasadam. And it's going to be so nectar. And you're going to be Krishna conscious. And Krishna's going to be pleased. One verse, the Lord tells Narada Muni, Lord Narayan is talking. This is Lord Narayan talking to Narada Muni. Naham tastami vaikunte yoganam hridayasuva tatra tastami narada yatra madgayanti madbhakta. Lord Narayan says to that's the four-arm form of Krishna in the Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world. He says, hey Narada, I do not live in Vaikuntha. That's the spiritual world. This is very unusual to hear that. I do not stay in Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world. I do not stay in the heart of the yogi. I stay. Listen to this. I stay wherever my devotees are chanting my glories. That's far out. He says, I do not stay in the spiritual world. I do not stay in the heart of the yogi. I stay wherever my loving devotees are chanting my glories. That's far out. So yeah, if you got the association of devotees, you hit the jackpot. You're so lucky. And always stay there. Don't ever leave the association of devotees. I mean, like I left the association of the devotees here in Australia, but our purpose was to give other people an opportunity to associate with devotees. And I don't feel that I'm not with the devotees, because I'm always thinking about the devotees, like I'm thinking about you all. And I'm thinking about my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And I feel they're with me. Like again, we were talking about this love and separation. So the separation is there, but that doesn't mean you're not together, not united. It's called service and separation. Prabhupada, he would do that with his disciples. He told one of his disciples named Brahmananda, hey, Brahmananda, go to Africa and preach Krishna consciousness. And Brahmananda said, what do you mean, just me? He said, yes, just go. I think he sent him one assistant. That's all. Just Brahmananda, with one other devotee to make the whole of Africa Krishna conscious. Oh my God. Whole of it. And they did, they spread Krishna consciousness throughout. Now, if you go to Africa, there's temples from South Africa, which is right at the bottom of the continent, right to the Kenya and Nairobi and right to the top, Egypt, there's everywhere.
I looked it up, and in Tunisia, where my husband's from, there is a center or something there.
Yeah, it's far out, huh?
That's right up north. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. So that they somehow or other they did it all by themselves, and they didn't. And Prabhupada didn't say, "Oh, here's a briefcase with 100 grand. That'll help you get started." He didn't give them any money. Nothing. They had to work it out themselves. They had to arrange to find money to get tickets, and they had nothing. But see, Prabhupada had faith. I was talking about faith. Prabhupada had faith that Krishna would help them. And guess what? Krishna did. They got the money and mysteriously arranged. They got everything, and then they met the right people and the right contacts and set up places, and don't know how the hell it happened, but it happened, and it was amazing. Even if I look back to think, how did we develop the Bhakti tree? I don't know how it happened. We didn't have anything. We didn't have anything. Because we didn't have any. We had the money to buy the place, except we had 100 grand mortgage, so we had a debt. We started out with a debt. We didn't have any money to build the commercial kitchen, which is over 100 grand. We didn't have any money to renovate it. We didn't have anyone to help us. In the beginning, it was just my wife and I and Ma Bhadra. Didn't know how the hell it was going to work, and it just happened. It just happened. It's amazing. And then you came along, and people came, and people offered their services, and people helped, and money came, and everything. It was just amazing.
Everybody come, and then you left.
Yeah, this is also part of Krishna's arrangement. This is also part of the... Prabhupada traveled around the world, how many times? I can't keep record of track of, like 12 times in 10 years or whatever. So when he went to one place, what did that mean? If he went he first of all went to New York, right? Then he went to San Francisco. When he goes to San Francisco, what does that mean for New York?
New York felt a loss.
Yeah, but still, they had faith in Prabhupada, and they kept following his instructions and feeling separation from him, serving him separation, and then things went on well there. And then Prabhupada left San Francisco. He went to London. And then what happened to the people in San Francisco? They felt separation, but they kept on as well. And like that, that's the way it goes. And then eventually he came back to New York, and eventually came back to San Francisco, and eventually he left there again, and eventually came back, and eventually left there again. And then eventually in 1977, he left everywhere.
So we're hoping to come back to the Bhakti tree again?
Of course. So that's what I mean. When you're feeling separation from someone, you look forward to meeting them again. That's natural. But see, this when you intensify your thinking about devotees, means you become more Krishna conscious. Do you want me to? I'll share you a little secret in my own experience of my most Krishna conscious day in nearly 30 years. And this far exceeds any other day of the other 29 years and 11 months and whatever. That is the day that I just got initiated by my spiritual master, and he left me in Mayapur. I was in Mayapur, I got initiated, and he left. That was the most painful day of my life, and it was the most ecstatic, blissful day of my life at the same time. I couldn't get him out of my head the whole day. And I couldn't get the Maha Mantra out of my mouth the whole day. That was the best chanting I've ever done. It was the best I've ever done. Every word I was hearing it, and it was just so amazing experience. That was the most Krishna conscious day I've ever had. You know, feeling separation from a devotee, a spiritual master. So that's actually what Prabhupada wants us to develop, that feeling of separation. That is the highest thing in the spiritual world, to feel separation from Krishna, to feel separation from the devotees. It makes us intensify our thinking about the person that we love, the person that we feel separated from. And one time devotees were traveling with Prabhupada in India, and a devotee said, what's our purpose here, Prabhupada, in this particular place, this holy place? What's our purpose? What do we want to achieve here? He said, our purpose here is to cry for Krishna. Means feel separation, to feel separation for Krishna. That's our purpose. We want to get to that point where because you're not going to cry unless you feel separation. So we want to try to develop these feelings. Of course, this can't be artificially achieved. You can't make it happen by just I'm going to try to cry now. Doesn't work like that. It just comes. But like I said, it begins with faith. So do we develop some faith in the association of devotees? How are we going for time? I think my watch has stopped.
Oh yeah. I think I need to go to Bhakti Tree now.
I was thinking, why is it always saying 5:30? It never changed past 5:30. I thought, I'm sure it's further than 5:30.
No,
And I
it's
just
5 o'clock.
I noticed on the computer that it's
Krishna froze the time for us.
wow.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I've exceeded my time as usual then. It must be. Yeah. So we better let you guys go. But would anyone like to say anything about anything we've talked about?
Mate, I'd like to thank you for the lesson. I have to sign off because I have an appointment. But
Yes.
bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
I have to
Bye-bye.
go to Bhakti
And
Tree as well.
I'll see you all next Thursday.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I'll just give a little encapsulation of this verse. So that's one thing, faith, right? We can develop transcendental knowledge if we develop faith. The other thing that's mentioned is if we become attached to the knowledge. If we become attached to the knowledge, that will help you develop it. The more attached you become to it, means we should try to develop a real love for this knowledge. You really like hearing this stuff, and you really like these books. You really like reading the books, and you really like hearing this stuff. And if Krishna detects in you that, man, Bhakti Malas really likes these classes, or Sarah really loves reading Bhagavad Gita, then he's going to be pleased, and he's going to give you the more knowledge, more understanding. So that's the thing. If we develop faith, that's going to help us get more knowledge. If you become attached to the knowledge, that's going to help you get more knowledge. And last but not least, if you control your senses. You have to control your senses. Obviously, how are you going to get the knowledge if you're you know, sucked in by the beautiful girl going past, or, you know, you smelt the KFC and your nose is drawing you off that way, or, you know, your tongue is this way or that way. If your senses drag you around, then how are you going to get the knowledge? You know, that's why that in India, there's the first ashram is brahmachari ashram. That means student. That's the student stage where you're learning from the guru. But that stage, it's compulsory. When you're a brahmachari, you're learning from the guru. It's compulsory that you're celibate. No sex life. It means no contact with the opposite sex. Because as soon as that's there, then that may be a diversion. You diverted because your senses took you somewhere else. So then obviously I'm not saying we have to be celibate, but I'm just saying that even like within family life, we have to regulate the senses, control the senses. Actually, earlier on, one of the sacrifices was for a householder. The sacrifice for the householder is to control the senses. So whether you're a single person or whether you're married, doesn't matter, but you have to control the senses. Otherwise, you're never going to learn anything. You're never going to get anywhere. That's why even some regular schools, right? They have, what do you call it when you have an all boys school or an all girls school? That's why that was there. But why did they do that originally? Is because you can focus on your studies more. You can focus more on your studies, isn't it? That's why. You know, why have an all girls school? So the girls don't get diverted by the boys. And why have an all boys school? So the boys don't get diverted by the girls. Because that's where the senses tend to, and that can happen for any senses. So that's what you're going to get more knowledge if you learn to control your senses. And that's why we have these rules: no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. This is controlling the senses. That's helping us to get more knowledge. If you didn't have those 4 rules, good luck, you're going to learn anything, because you're going to be out of control. So that's just a little summary. So, you know, if you do like that, if you develop faith and become attached to the knowledge and control your senses, then very quickly you're going to achieve this knowledge. And then the result of achieving the knowledge is you're going to be peaceful. Very quickly you're going to become peaceful. And what more life than that? Shanti, shanti, shanti. That's what they say in the rituals. That's what it means. Peace, peace, and peace. 3 times. 3 times peace means very important. If you say something 3 times, it means very important. Isn't it? You don't want to say anything, Brett?
Hare Krishna, thank you.
You look very peaceful there, laying back on the couch there.
I'm just relaxing until I have to go down to the bhakti tree.
Babe Prabhu, what does your Saturday afternoons look like? Because I'm just thinking if we could do the soul searching back in Bhakti Tree, but with you screened in. I mean, I'm having all these ideas.
Deepa. I'm so glad you brought this up, because it's exactly what I was wanting to talk about is, can we change the day and the time? Yeah, so I'm so glad. Because originally we set up this Thursday because it was locked down and no one was working and everything like that. So, I mean, personally for me, and then I'll hear from you, personally from me, I would rather do it later in the day so I can make more use of the daylight hours here and do some more gardening and stuff. Doesn't really matter which day of the week for me, but I would like to do it later. But then for you, considering some of you have, you know, Monday to Friday jobs or whatever, then on the weekend is fine for me. I have no problem with that. I'm very happy to do it on the weekend. But then, of course, the Bhakti Tree is going on the weekend.
It's somehow I don't know, Brett, you can pipe in here, but I just feel a little bit of a void in Bhakti Tree, because I feel that soul searching part of it is not quite there for anyone who is curious. So I just wondered if we just, you know, like how we had the screen for Friday Fest and the screen with the words, if we could just screen Abhay on that and people could sit around and do and we could hear, would that work? I
It's
don't know.
possible.
That's an
Yes, it
idea.
is
My
possible.
thought.
When it's not
Yeah,
open, when it's not open.
Yeah, yeah, so it would be if it's like the same time that we used to have the soul searching on
Oh, yeah.
Saturday afternoons. Would that work for you, Abhay?
Yeah, I mean that doesn't worry me. But I mean, isn't it more convenient for you all to be in your own homes or whatever? Like I know Sarah can't come to the Bhakti tree. I know Narendra's in Sydney. Narendra's in Sydney. He can't come to the Bhakti tree. So I mean, it seemed to me very convenient that you can just be wherever you are. I mean, you could be in the
Yeah,
Bhakti
no,
tree
I mean,
and watch that too on Skype,
yeah.
or you could be at home, or
I mean, yeah, it's not up to me to decide, of course. I mean, it's everybody, but I just thought I mean, you know how we used to have a few people who'd pop in. I mean, like us, even we started off that way, we just
well, I mean,
explored, and then
one idea is
so yeah.
we could do one like that in the Bhakti tree, like at a time that we had before, if you want, and we could do another one for the people at home. You know,
But the people at home even could join in from home to the same session that's being that's for people who are searching, who just come off the street and want to I don't know, Brett, you're quiet, you say something.
Yeah, so the first thing about the idea is, yes, it would work. We could get that screen down. We could have the laptop set up and with Skype on it, and it would have Abai talking on the screen. With that Saturday afternoon time slot, as you know, Bhakti Mala and Mahabhadra have been trying to work really hard the last few weeks to build up the Kirtan program, because we can't do
That's
Kirtan
on Saturday
Friday night at the moment.
That's right.
So I'd be reluctant to step on their toes without their input about it. But having the screen set up and everything, that would work, yes.
Bhakti Mala, you want to say something? You're still on, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it has been pretty important for me and Mahabhadra to try and get the kirtan going again. And it's been getting a bit of momentum the last few weeks, I think. We've got a few more people, and I mean, I'd prefer not to do it that day, but if that
not on Saturday, sure. But
and if
what are your thoughts?
If it suits everybody, I mean, I guess it's something you could think about. But yeah, I don't know.
Because
I mean, what about Sunday afternoons? What's on?
Yeah, what about Sunday?
Yeah, it works for me.
Sarah, do you?
Sunday afternoon.
What do you do on Sunday? You work sometimes on a Sunday, Sarah?
No, I don't work on Sunday. I just join into
Shamananda's class.
Yeah.
Shamananda has a Gita class.
Okay, that's nice.
I'm more than happy to have a whole day of transcendental knowledge and Krishna consciousness. So that's I work at the moment till the end of the year. I'm working every second Saturday, but you know, it's what works for everybody.
Yeah, so Sunday maybe could be the go then, because I was thinking that's why Narendra is not joining anymore, because it's on a working day. So it's a bit of a shame that people like him can't come.
If we do it later in the day, though, too, Gulshan and Brett can't.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can sacrifice that. I don't mind, especially on a Sunday. Maybe I shouldn't be just staying out late gardening and stuff. I can deal with that. So then what time on a Sunday? Would it be like 4:30 your time or 4 o'clock your time, 4:30 your time?
Clash Shamananda.
Yeah.
What time then?
4:30 would be. Yeah, because Shamananda Prabhu has his class, because now we don't, only he's doing the classes, which starts at 4.
3.
Yeah, 4 o'clock our time. Yeah, so that class starts at 4. If it was an hour earlier, would that work?
Oh no, I need more time than that. So 2. What about 2? 2 o'clock on Sunday.
It works for me.
So I can't do that.
In relation to Gulshan, 2:30 might be better.
Oh yeah, 2:30. Yeah, 2 o'clock. Bhakti Tree closes. Yeah, 2:30.
I
You
Hello,
can't
the
do.
Bhakti Tree.
do it on a Sunday. I'm at the farm and it's really busy. So.
Oh, you're at the farm on Sunday. Okay. Mm.
I
It's going to
mean,
be hard to make it work for everyone. Yeah. Mm. Okay.
Well, we don't have to decide right now. It was just a thought. I'm thinking because I have missed your classes, have I? I mean, it's just, and yeah, and I think it's very suitable the way you run the